So, Wolf, we have the perfect guy to talk to on the line right now on the Arizona Sports Line. ESPN NBA front office insider Bobby Marks is joining us. Bobby, thank you for the time. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. We've upgraded here. I'm on video and not
Wow.
phone, and you can see me in person. How's that sound?
It
It's
looks
very
great, Bobby.
futuristic. Yeah, I didn't realize this.
Very cool, man. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, since we got all this technology here, can you just go ahead and solve all the Suns' issues this summer? Is that possible? Can you just kind of snap your fingers and do that for us? Where?
Well, I know.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's. I listen. I think it's why as you watch these playoffs, it is a little bit disheartening because there's a lot of work to do to
yeah.
get to where even some of these teams that lost in the first round, like the Clippers or um, Houston last night, of course. There's work to do. Certainly who they hired head coach will be probably one of the most important offseason decisions they have. That and what happens with Kevin Durant. But as I said, you got to get. I mean, you can't go over 3 as far as the last 3 off seasons as far as with the head coach, and that's probably for the now, that and the draft are your 2 most important things.
So, Bobby, tell us your thoughts on Brian Gregory being hired as the GM of the Suns.
Yeah, listen, I think it kind of contradicts the owner coming on and saying that there's going to be big changes in the front office when you basically promote within. You certainly want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not cut in, I guess, the NBA cookie cutter GM role of people who have worked in a front office and then kind of, have been there 5 or 6 years and worked their way up and maybe served an apprentice with a different organization. There is a familiarity for him being there because he was with this roster last year and he kind of knows the pulse, which is certainly a good thing. I just thought if you're really looking to change things up, sometimes a voice outside of within that organization, someone from the outside, maybe it would have a little bit of a better perspective on the roster and what direction to go. But we'll wait and see what they're able to do as far as, certainly, as I said, with the head coach and who they hire, and then how the rest of this roster is shaping up. They did extremely well. I'll say, when you drafted certainly Ryan Dunn last year and Oso, as far as getting those 2 players, if you can get 2 players like that in this year's draft, that's certainly a coup. But Brian's got good people around him. Matty Tellem, who I worked with in Brooklyn for a long time, is really good at what he does. And as I said, there's kind of the jury will still be out as far as what they do this summer.
We're talking to Bobby Marks. Bobby, I think you hit on one of the 2 main concerns a lot of people have with the Brian Gregory hire is just that it doesn't really, on the surface, signal a lot of big change. But the other one would be he's not experienced in this role before, and that's fine. It doesn't mean he's not going to be good at it, except they are in such a pivotal summer, and they've got so many fine lines. It feels like whoever the GM was is going to have to step in and walk the tightrope, and now they have a guy that's not super experienced. Do you think that's a concern as they head into this summer?
I think the concern with me is if the vision is from ownership or is the vision from Brian Gregory. I think that's the concern. If you had hired somebody probably from the outside, there would have probably been sweeping changes to the front office and there would have been sweeping changes to the roster. I just get concerned that basically what the roster ended with is what you're going to see, minus, certainly maybe we see a Kevin Durant trade. And of course we're going to see, probably something with Bradley Beal perhaps here. I always thought, and this is, I've been out of the league for 10 years, but when you're not associated with a team, it gives you so much a better perspective on how that team from the outside, and you don't have the blinders on and stuff. But as I said, I think you give Brian the benefit of the doubt, and you give ownership the benefit of the doubt that this was the right decision for them, and the proof will be who they hire as the head coach and what they do with the roster.
Yeah, Bobby, I agree with you on that one right there. I also think, too, there can be some accountability there because of the familiarity that is there with Brian Gregory and Matt Ishbia. Maybe Brian Gregory can walk up to him and call him a Vino Pettifog, and he won't be offended by that. In other words, he can say, this is what we've got to do. And maybe because of their relationship, Matt Ishbia is on board. Your thoughts on that, Bobby?
Yeah, no, listen, there's a long relationship there, certainly with Brian being on Tom Izzo's staff at Michigan State, and certainly Matt playing there, and winning a national championship. So there is a familiarity. I just think you have to. There's a positive with familiarity, but there's also, you have to ask the hard questions, and you have to ask the hard questions and have ownership agree with you as far as what the decision you want to go, whether it be Kevin Durant or Devin Booker or Bradley Beal or his philosophy as far as who the next head coach. For me, I wouldn't go nothing against Michael Malone or Taylor Jenkins. They've done that with Bud, and they did it with Frank Vogel. It's like, you can go outside of an established head coach and find really good value, whether it be a young up and coming assistant coach. Utah did that and wound up getting Will Hardy, who's done a good job. And Brooklyn did it with Jordy Fernandez. Like, there's good young coaches out there. And where this roster probably is going to be, where if you do move Durant and you're getting some young players and you're getting draft picks, it's probably not a win now roster, where there's certainly going to be a heavy focus on the development part.
We're talking to Bobby Marks. Bobby, Wolf and I were talking earlier in the show, and we kind of stumbled on this, but it's like all the conversation is, do you trade KD, and how do you do that? And are you going to buy out Bradley Beal to get rid of him? But there's not a whole lot of talk about what they're actually going to bring in as far as players. Yeah. If you were the GM of this team, what type of players, or how would you go about bringing in players around Devin Booker?
I think there's a 3-pronged checklist as far as what you're looking for. I think the first is draft equity. You're not going to get what you gave up in the Brooklyn trade. You're not getting 4 or 5 first-round picks here. But there has to be some draft equity, whether it be from Houston or San Antonio. Those are for me, those would be the 2 teams that I would probably zero in on. And both, you guys know, Houston basically controls the Suns first in the next few years. The second is guys on controllable rookie contracts, guys that were drafted in the past in the first round. Houston checks the boxes with that. So does San Antonio when you look at Jabari Smith or Reed Shepherd. And then you have to look at, listen, the philosophy that Matt Ishbia said on it is defensive-minded, tough-minded guys that fit the culture. Now, who is that? Is it Dylan Brooks? Is it Fred VanVleet? Is it, guys that maybe have shorter-term contracts but can kind of thread the needle right now? But I don't think you could be in a position where he's like, okay, we just want to go out and get 4 first-round picks. I think if you're going to keep Devin Booker on this roster, you do have to bring back kind of like an in-between package of picks, players, young players, and then players that can kind of help you win now.
I noticed when you said controllable rookie contracts, you did not say Amen Thompson.
Yeah,
you did not say that, Bobby.
I think the only way that he's in play was if, I don't know, I guess if Giannis ever became available. They're not trading him for Kevin Durant. I don't see that. I think if Houston would, if I don't want to speak for Rafael Stone in Houston, but I think if you were looking at a package, you would be looking at probably Jalen Green, or you need one of those big contracts, and then certainly the rookie scale guys, whether it be Smith or Eason or Reed Shepherd, guys like that.
Bobby, it's always great to talk to you, especially
Thank you, Bobby.
right now.
Really
Thank you, man.
appreciate
Good seeing you guys on TV here.
This is awesome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you, Bobby.
That's Bobby Marks joining us right there on the Arizona Sports Line. Yeah, good to talk to and see Bobby right there, man. Every time we talk to him, it's like this is going to be an interesting summer for the Suns for sure.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.